Three guys desperately needed Tuesday night's win, beginning with Eugenio Suarez.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carr, and on today's Locked On Reds podcast, a little bit later on, I'm going to tell you who should be next to get the call from Louisville to Cincinnati. There's one guy in particular in the outfield that I'm keeping an eye on, and you should too. In just a few minutes, I'll tell you why the Reds just can't lose on Chase Burns days, like they did on Tuesday night. But we will start with the three guys who needed Tuesday the most. And look, the Reds needed a win on Tuesday. They had lost 5 in a row. They lost 9 of 11. They really, really needed a win in the worst way. And it was an ugly game. The Reds stranded a small army again. But so did the Padres. And quite frankly, this was a pitching masterclass for the Reds in that you had a beautiful start from Chase Burns, albeit he did not go, 6 innings or anything like that, but it was a good start for him. And then the bullpen came in and did its job with a bit of an assist from the fielding. But I want to start with Eugenio Suarez because for much of this game, he looked lost at the plate. He was swinging and missing. There was an at-bat in particular, I believe it was in the third inning. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure it was the third inning, where there was a hanging breaking ball from the Padres starter, Lucas Giolito. And honestly, Giolito did not have good stuff. I mean, Jeff Brantley and John Sadak were just hammering him on the television broadcast saying, like, why aren't the Reds hitting this? They're so out in front of everything that they keep popping everything up. But there was a lot of pitches that were catching a lot of the plate. And in this particular at bat, he threw a hanging slider. It was 0-2 to Eugenio, but a hanging slider that Gino it looked like he wanted to hit that ball across the Pacific Ocean. He jumped out of his shoes, overswung so bad, completely missed it and struck out. There was another at bat where he watched strike 3 go by, and he was so sure that it was a ball that he called the challenge, and it was so very much a strike. And you're just like, man, he looks lost. But then comes the 10th inning with the ghost runner on second base, and he's up, and he hits a beautiful double just inside the foul line, down the third base line, and it goes all the way into the corner. RBI double to put the Reds ahead 3-2 at that point. And I'm hoping that sparks something, because for a moment, just consider what his June has looked like. He went 1 for 5 last night. That raised his June average to 111. That was just his third hit in the month of June. It was his first for extra bases. He has been just so rough ever since coming off the injured list. Here at the end of May, it looked like he might be starting to turn the corner a bit, but we just haven't seen him go on a streak. And it was ironic because right before he had that hit, if you watch the games on Reds.tv, they do in the commercial breaks, they'll do like different highlights of fun games or something like that from around the league from last season. And they did his 4 home run game when he played for the Diamondbacks. It just made me sad because I'm like, what happened between then and now? I mean, ever since he was traded to Seattle at the deadline last year, he's struggled. And he has not yet found his stroke ever since the Reds added him. Maybe this will be that catalyst. He desperately needed it. The next guy who desperately needed a good game on Tuesday night, and he was a big part of the Reds' win, was Tony Santillan. Now, he deserves a lot. He needs to give a lot of credit to Blake Dunn, because Blake Dunn made the catch of the year, ranging from what looked like the warning track to shallow right center field, made a full-on Superman dive of a catch that was the third out of the 8th inning. Bases were loaded. I mean, if that ball falls, the game's over. I mean, the Padres would have taken the lead, and then Mason Miller would have absolutely dominated in the 9th, and the game would have been over. But he saved the Reds' chances at a win with this beautiful diving stop. But back to Tony Santillan, because he has now put together back-to-back scoreless appearances for just the third time since the month of May began. He has been that bad, and you can expand it out, and it's just been a rough go of it for him. Like, from the beginning of May through now, he has an ERA over 10. It's crazy. Like, he has just been getting shelled, and you can watch him and you know that he's off because his breaking ball doesn't break all the time. A lot of the times it just spins and sits there in the zone. His fastball is slower than it was last year. Some of that seems to be just him being healthy enough to pitch right now after throwing as much as he did in 2025. So hopefully he is starting to find a groove here because the Reds need him desperately. They don't have anyone else in that bullpen that they should trust more than Tony Santillan. In fact, he came in this game in the 8th inning. The Reds started the bottom of the 8th inning with Caleb Ferguson on the mound, which I thought, okay, we're finally seeing him in a high-leverage situation. He gets one out, gives up a hit, and then immediately they call for an intentional walk, and they bring in Tony Santillan. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Calling him in this tough spot in front of 40,000 fans. They said there was 40,000 fans there at Petco Park. By the way, super jealous of the atmosphere there. Like, always, every time the Reds go to Petco Park, the Padres fans just show out. Like, that's amazing to see. But it puts so much pressure on the Reds bullpen that has just been so bad. But Tony Santillan throws 3 scoreless outs because he gets them out of the jam in that inning, and then he pitches a little bit into the 9th inning as well. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this could be a start of something, but I'm just happy to see it. Like, I'm not going to go too crazy and say, Tony Santillan's back. We ain't anywhere close to that. But it was good to see him come in the clutch. And, by the way, yeah, huge hat tip to the catch of the year so far for the Reds by Blake Dunn. And then the third guy that really loved Tuesday night was Zach Maxwell. Big Sugar. Big Shug. Big Sugar came into this game in the 11th inning, and we were getting down to the point where it's like, all right, there's not too many people out there in the bullpen left. And we all know who Zach Maxwell is at this point. He is a boom or bust, all or nothing relief pitcher. You might get the best appearance you've ever seen from him, or you might give up a grand slam. Like, give up a bunch of walks and then give up a grand slam. Like, that's just who he is at this point. And I would love to see him build some kind of consistency, and maybe this is a good jumping off point for that because he got his first career save. And he was dominant. Like, it wasn't like, strike out the side dominance, but he was filling up the strike zone. He was hitting his spots. Like, you could watch P.J. Higgins at this point because Tyler Stevenson had been pinch ran for it, but P.J. Higgins would set up in his spot where he wanted the pitch. Boom, right there. Zach Maxwell was pounding the zone, and I love to see it because you got some rough swings from the 9-1 and 2 hitters in this because, yeah, he faced the top of the order. He faced Fernando Tatis. Fernando Tatis had 4 hits already to this point in the game. You're like, ooh, here we go. And the Reds had a 2-run lead, but, like, we've seen larger leads evaporate with this Reds bullpen. And as much as there's just nobody out there that you trust fully yet, could these appearances from Santillan and Maxwell, and look, honorable mention as well to Sam Maul. He had a great appearance in this game as well. But could these be the catalysts to kind of right the ship? Because the Reds desperately need it. And thankfully, they got it at a point where they could not afford to lose. Because with that losing streak and everything that was going on, they also had Chase Burns on the mound. And when you have Chase Burns on the mound, all you can do and all you should do is win.
Hey, it's Mike and John from Locked On Angels. We wanted to talk to you about something that's important, and that's your family.
I've been married a few years now, and my wife and I have a 1-year-old, and we're always thinking about his future. Who's he going to become? How can we help? And what ways can we make sure his future is secure?
Yeah, I'm in a different season. I'm married. I have 3 young adult kids, and lately I've been thinking a lot about how to make sure my family's taken care of in the long term.
This is why life insurance matters, not because it solves everything, but because it helps provide financial security for the people you love the most.
And that's where Ethos comes in. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and even get same-day coverage, and there's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions online, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month.
So take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb.
Get up to $3 million in coverage in as little as 10 minutes at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day and your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the country. Look, you already take it up a notch and go with us every single day. Now, go ad-free and join the Everydayer Club. We actually have a free 7-day trial for you if you go to lockedonreds.supercast.com or just follow the link down in the description to learn more about it. And then it's $5 a month or $50 for the whole year. Ad-free feed, group chat on the Discord with every Locked On show, every Locked On host. You can talk some trash with the other teams if the Reds are winning. You know, and so much more. Learn more. Like I said, follow the link in the show notes below. All right, the Reds did the thing that they can't do. You can't lose whenever Chase Burns is pitching because Chase Burns has been the ace of this staff this year, bar none. It ain't even close. Like, according to Baseball Reference, which they really hone in on the win probability added component of all the metrics and all this other stuff when they talk about wins above replacement, Chase Burns is almost at 4 WAR, and we're not even anywhere near the All-Star break. It's been amazing how well he has pitched and amazing how valuable he is. In fact, with the win last night, the Reds are now 9-4 in the 13 starts that he's made. But he has just been so phenomenal to the point that, like, if he's on the mound, the Reds cannot lose, period. Plain and simple. I get it. There's bullpen factors in there. There's the off chance that you just stop hitting with runners in scoring position, like what we have seen these Reds been doing for what feels like forever. It's only really been since Ellie's been hurt, but man, it's been a while, it feels. But with Chase Burns on the mound, you got to win because he has just been so good for this team. For a moment, let's just realize how good he has been. I said he's made 13 starts. 12 of those. So 12 of the 13, he has allowed 2 runs or less. The only start that he's allowed more than 2 runs, he allowed 5 runs to the Angels in just his 3rd start of the year. Other than that, 2 runs or less. He's also twirled 8 starts of at least 6 innings. A couple of those, he's gone more than 6. But he has morphed into this ace this season at a point where the Reds desperately needed it because they didn't have Hunter Greene. And they still won't have Hunter Greene. And there was a report here recently that Terry Francona says he believes that Hunter Greene will be ready before the All-Star break. That's still like a month away. And he hasn't started making rehab starts yet. Like, I don't know why we're making declarations on when we're going to see him pitch in Cincinnati. I digress. Chase Burns is what we're talking about here, and Chase Burns is awesome. But Chase Burns has just been so good this year that on a team that, I mean, quite frankly, we're going to continue our look at like why things have collapsed so bad. We talked a lot about the lineup yesterday, in case you missed that. We'll look at the pitching staff tomorrow, and the rotation was the first part of the collapse, and the bullpen has been the latest part of the collapse. But the rotation has just been such a mess, except for Chase Burns. And he has been the stopper for this team. I mean, consider for a minute, if you really want to dig deep, let's dig deep for a minute on Chase Burns, because this is fun. Like, his swing and miss rate right now, according to all qualified pitchers in Major League Baseball, top 5% of the league. That includes relief pitchers that are qualified in this. So you're talking about like the Mason Millers of the world, and we've seen him the last 2 nights. He is darn good at pitching. But he also has a walk rate that is better than league average. So he's limiting the walks while also getting the swing and miss And he's a two-pitch pitcher. I mean, he throws a changeup as a show-me pitch every so often. But as a two-pitch pitcher, he is elite at getting swings and misses, and he's above average at limiting the walks. His four-seamer, like, to really hone in on these two pitches, his four-seam fastball that he throws averages 98 miles an hour. It doesn't top out at that. It doesn't touch it sometimes. It doesn't get close to it. That's what he sits at. And we know he can hit triple digits with regularity. And he locates all of it. The other part of this is, like, I was trying to think of the comparison between him and Hunter Greene the other day. Like, think for a moment about Hunter Greene in his first couple of seasons. We saw flashes of greatness. We saw moments that were awesome. But we also saw some struggles, man. And as a two-pitch pitcher back then for him, his fastball was flat. It had a little bit of spin to it, a little bit of movement to it, but not enough. Chase Burns, on the other hand, man, his fastball spins. And his fastball moves. It's got so much ride to it. And like you can see whenever, and he is a guy that it's easy to tell whenever the game has really weared on him. Like whatever the game he's pitching in, if there's a ton of pressure on him or whatever it might be, you can tell when things are wearing on him because the fastball doesn't have as much ride to it. You know, it doesn't have as much lift to it, but it still has some. Way more than Hunter Greene's had. And this is why he is so dominant so early in his career, because his fastball isn't straight. He throws a fastball that isn't straight that sits at 98. That rhymes. And he also throws this amazing slider. I mean, it's the best slider in baseball. I put it up against anybody else's, and I don't say that with any sort of just, like, sarcasm. I mean that. Best slider in baseball. His slider sets at 90.9, so just under 91 miles an hour. We're going to round up and call it 91 miles an hour, but his slider sits at 91 miles an hour. We're going to watch Brady Singer pitch here in a little bit this afternoon against the Padres. Pretty sure his fastball averages 91 to 92 miles an hour. Chase Burns' slider sets at that. But that slider breaks in all different directions. Sometimes it's horizontal, sometimes it's vertical. He knows, he controls it, he commands it, and boy, does he make hitters look silly with it. I know that John Sadak really said, bend the knee when it came to Tony Santillan, because Tony Santillan's breaking ball last year really got a lot of hitters swinging and going down to one knee trying to get to it and all that other stuff and swinging and missing and look foolish. Chase Burns does that really well too, and on a regular basis. But the most important reason why the Reds just cannot lose whenever Chase Burns pitches, especially like he pitched last night, is because he's not going to be able to pitch all year. And I don't want to hammer this. We've discussed this multiple times. And if you listen to, friend of the show, Mo Egger over on ESPN 1530, or a friend of the show, Lance McAllister over on 700 WLW, we've all talked about it. He's not going to be able to make every start. There's going to be a point where he's got to hit like a maintenance IL stretch, or you're skipping a start here, skipping a start there, all that other stuff. Like he can't pitch every fifth day. Even if the Reds are out of contention, I still think they probably employ some sort of strategy that they don't get to September and say, well, got to shut down Chase. He's hit his limit. I think we'll see some sort of, they use this term in the NBA a lot, try not to use it in baseball, but load management when it comes to Chase Burns. I think we'll see that soon. And so he's not going to be here all the time. And hopefully by the time they really start to have to do this, Hunter Greene is healthy and Hunter Greene is pitching like we know he can. Because they have two bona fide aces with Burns and Greene. It's just hopefully those guys can overlap, and hopefully they'll be pitching for meaningful baseball, because the Reds got to go on quite a run to get there at this point. But Chase Burns is the ace of this staff, and there's no reason that the Reds should ever lose a game when he pitches. Because quite frankly, I know baseball is baseball, and sometimes baseball just happens to pitchers, and he's going to have those games. I mean, that Angels game felt that way. But there's going to be those games that happen to him. But more often than not, if the Reds aren't winning when Chase Burns is pitching, it's because other factors of the team just aren't stepping up. Coming up next, you should pay attention to Hector Rodriguez, among others, down in Louisville, as their call-ups may be coming to a Reds team near you. You know, talking about West Coast ball games reminds me that the perfect solution to your sweet tooth craving is 5 Hour Energy, because I don't know if you're like me or not and you watch some late night Reds and you get a little bit snacky and maybe start reaching for some cookies, maybe some pretzels. Yeah, all of that last night and more. But 5 Hour Energy really helps you curb that sweet craving because they've got all these great flavors with tasty caffeine boosting, zero sugar, just like the cotton candy flavor that they got. I mean, cotton candy 5 Hour Energy shots bring that nostalgic flavor back in this very nice, healthy package for you. You can take it on the road with you, keep it in your pocket. It goes with you portably everywhere you are. Or if you're just sitting at home, nice little tasty caffeine boost with zero sugar and that classic cotton candy taste that you remember. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. Bring on the sweetness with cotton candy 5 Hour Energy shots today. They're available online now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. And the Reds are home this weekend against the Arizona Diamondbacks for their only home series in June. It's crazy to think. Weird scheduling? Yes. But you can get into the ball games with Game Time every single day. I use Game Time all the time. Steve uses Game Time all the time. Whether it's Reds games or if we're on the road going to other events, Game Time has you covered. They show you the prices all up front. That way you don't get surprised with this fee or that tax in the cart whenever you add the tickets and you go to pay and you're like, whoa, that's not a deal. Game Time shows you the whole deal. And they show you your view from your seats so that everywhere you go, you have confidence knowing that you're getting the right ticket. Game Time is my go-to app to get into any Reds game. And it's going to be a great tool for you this weekend with the Reds hosting the Arizona Diamondbacks. And hey, the Mets are coming to town next week too. Maybe the Reds can beat one of those teams. And you can see it live using Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. You can keep the conversation going with us after the show is over. You can follow me on X or on TikTok at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. You can follow Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs over on X. Or you can follow the show at Locked On Reds everywhere you get your podcast. All right, there's a couple of guys that I keep my eye on at different points, and a couple of folks have shouted out some guys to keep an eye on as well down in Louisville. Shout out to our friend Carrick. He's been talking about a few of these guys, but the first one that I'm looking at is Hector Rodriguez. And quite frankly, I've kept my eye on him all year long, ever since spring training, because he had a really rough spring training. And you're thinking, is he going to make any sort of major league impact this year? Hard to tell, and he's only 22 years old, so it's not as if he has to come up this year, but it looks like he could get a look at some point. Now, you've got the move coming up for Ellie De La Cruz whenever, we hear the good news on him. There's a good chance that could be this weekend, and that move could very well be that they send down Will Benson, and then they evaluate Matt McClain a little bit longer because he's been hitting the ball so well. And so then if you get to a point where you've got to make another decision, then Hector Rodriguez might be your next guy. Hector Rodriguez has had a pretty good year. I mean, he's not setting the world on fire, AAA, but he has a nice slash line, 278, 355, 478. The on-base percentage is 355. The slugging percentage is 478. But I always tell you, definitely look deeper when you're talking about AAA statistics, because the batting average, the slash line as a whole, it does not translate to the major leagues. And in fact, that can work either way. If he's struggling, sometimes come up and have a hot streak. Or if he's just hitting the cover off the ball like crazy, come up and just not do anything at all. See Rhys Hines. Although, again, Rhys Hines should have gotten more of a run. We all know that. But still, the point is, the little bit that he did play was very ineffective. But with this season, he has 11 home runs. He hits from the left side of the plate, just in case you don't know, and he plays in the corner outfield. He played in center field in the lower minors a couple of years ago. He is not a good fielder, and so center field should not be an option for him. And even in the corners, he's not really all that good of a fielder. He's a converted infielder. Hopefully he can kind of pick up the outfield a little bit more. I think that's why he has been down there in AAA, and I mean, he was in AA a little bit last year as well. They're just moving him up and making sure that he is getting acclimated with the glove, because the bat is all about the contact, and he is pretty darn good with the contact. In fact, this season, he's at 78% for his contact rate. That's generally his contact rate for his minor league career. So he really does a good job of getting the bat on the ball, and he couples that with a low strikeout rate of just 18%. So it's good to see. However, in his minor league career, he has swung a lot, and he has swung at a lot of pitches outside the zone, and we know from experience of watching time after time and player after player get called up to Cincinnati, if they have a problem swinging at pitches outside the zone in the minors, it's only going to be like twice as worse in the majors. He has actually cut down on that quite a bit this year. Last year, he played about 80 games in AAA, and he had a chase rate swinging at pitches outside the zone of 46%. This year, it's only 35%. So it's a nice drop. And hopefully that is something that can continue for him if he is to get a call up here pretty soon. His slash line that I mentioned is, don't go too crazy about it, but that is up across the board as well from his time in AAA last year compared to this year. So things are improving, and on top of that, his quality of contact metrics are also all up. Hard hit rate, average exit velocity, barrel percentage, all that stuff, that's up year over year. So it's interesting to see that all of these things are trending in the right direction. They haven't trended to some sort of level that it's like, oh my gosh, it's obvious there's no reason for him to be in AAA anymore. I think that the main reason for him to be in AAA is to make sure that the glove is good. But I could see him getting a call too, because he's got that contact. Now, if he gets the call, he needs to call him up here and play. Because Noelvi Marte got the call here recently, and Noelvi Marte is only playing every so often. That's not what you're going to do with Hector Rodriguez. And if he's coming up just to fill Will Benson's spot on the bench, then what are we really doing? But I think that we could see him here reasonably soon. I wouldn't say it's like within the next couple of weeks, but could it be before the All-Star break? I think there's an outside shot. There's a couple of other guys that I have my eye on that are in the bullpen down in Louisville. Now, trust me, I know the Louisville pitching staff is not great. I mean, they just lost to the Iowa Cubs yesterday, 10-2, but that was mostly on starting pitcher Darren McCoggan, who gave up 7 runs. And then there were a couple of runs given up by some other relief pitchers, but 2 guys I'm going to mention actually pitched in this game and pitched scoreless frames. Hunter Parks and Anthony Misiewicz. And I believe I'm saying Misiewicz right. I didn't see a pronunciation guide, but it's one of those names with a C and a Z next to it. But Misiewicz is a lefty and Parks is a righty. Parks is a hard thrower, has a really high velocity fastball that touches triple digits. And so because of that, he has a high strikeout rate and he has a high walk rate. The problem with Hunter Parks is that he kind of fits into that mold of Luis May, Zach Maxwell, Connor Phillips. Those guys that come up and they might throw strikes and they might not. And so hopefully he does. This is a guy too that, and I implore you, if you are ever looking at AAA statistics, do not look at ERA, especially for relief pitchers. His ERA is in the 1 range, and it's much closer to 1 than 2. But all of his other stuff says that he is getting really lucky. But he does keep the ball on the ground. So there's a little bit of command issues with him. A lot of great stuff. Keeps the ball on the ground. He has not allowed a home run this year, but he has allowed a lot of hard contact. So that's one of those things that I think ultimately it adds up to a bullpen flyer. Like if Zach Maxwell doesn't take his first career save and run with it, and you're just looking for somebody else in like a month or two, and maybe not even before that. Like, Hunter Parks should at least be on the list to give a look. He's 25 years old. I think he's ready to at least get a flyer of a chance. Misiewicz, the other guy that I mentioned, lefty, he's actually been around a little bit. He's 30 years old, and he debuted with Seattle back in 2020, pitched for multiple teams in the major leagues. And right now in the minors in the AAA for Louisville right now, he's got a 20% strikeout rate compared to an 8.5% walk rate. That's pretty much his career numbers as a major league pitcher. And his career numbers as a major league pitcher are pretty much just league average. Like his strikeout rate is league average. His walk rate is league average. He has a 47% ground ball rate, which is pretty much league average. He has a 4.27 xFIP. So going a little bit beyond ERA and factoring in more things than he can control and less of the luck. So in 120 and 1/3 innings pitched in the majors, everything is pretty average. So you could have yourself a replacement level, maybe even slightly above replacement level left-handed pitcher that's down there in AAA for you if you need it. So it's nice to think, because honestly, whenever things were really down earlier this week, the other day, we were just like, there's nobody left. And while Hunter Parks or Anthony Misiewicz aren't going to set the world on fire and become the Reds' closers, there's at least options. You could throw something against the wall and see if it sticks with either one of these guys. But I think that we will see Hector Rodriguez at some point manning the corner outfield here in Cincinnati. Thanks for tuning in to today's Locked On Reds podcast. Really appreciate you joining us here. A little bit later today, make sure you check out Tim Daniel with the postcast after the series finale in San Diego, which starts at 4:10 p.m. Eastern time here in Cincinnati on TV, radio, all that good stuff. But Tim will have you after the final out, and I'll be with you tomorrow as Steve is traveling. He'll be back with us on Friday, but we'll really be looking at the bullpen and the starting rotation and why everything just seemed to collapse on them this year. And will it get better? I mean, I think it's kind of gotta, but there's definitely some signs that things will be getting better. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Reds so that you get all the latest episodes that we've got coming for you. Now make sure you go check out Locked On MLB. We got 3 different shows covering the league-wide news and notes and everything going on from 3 different angles. It's all over on Locked On MLB. It's just like Locked On Reds, free and available everywhere you get your podcast. But as for Tim, Steve, and myself, we will be Locked On Reds every single day.